Welcome to week 1 of the NFL playoffs and episode. You know what? I've lost track here, Brent. We, listeners, I'm sure you've noticed we took a 2-week hiatus, and I think we're on episode 11. I should probably look that up before we started this podcast.
I was going to say 10. We're somewhere around that range.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Of course, you have your MC Maestro Juan Valley here with you, and of course, as always, none other than Brett O'Connor with me. As we said, we took a 2-week hiatus. We had some unexpected out of town trips we had to take, each one of us, and unfortunately neither one of us could be in the same room together to do the podcast. So
not like I would want to be in the same room with you anyway.
We heard your cries during the vacation or the holidays where you had to be with family instead of listening to our wonderful voices and our insightful insights into everything fantasy football podcast. But we heard your cries, we heard your wishes from Santa, and we're back into the new year. Welcome back, fans, and welcome back, Brent.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to be back. Welcome back, Juan. Glad to be here in the booth.
In the Boots Fantasy Football Podcast. Big things are happening in 2021, and this is the first week of the new year, and I'm excited about the playoffs. We're getting into that.
Playoffs?
We're talking about playoffs? And we were just kind of shooting the shit before the show. Kind of, we're game planning. Obviously, we're a new podcast. We haven't gone through an off season yet. So we were kind of game planning on what our strategy is going to be for the off season. And you know what? I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. And I hope you are as well. And honestly, I can't wait for as much as I hate to say this, I can't wait for the playoffs to be over and the Super Bowl to come and go. But I'm kind of hyped for the combine and the draft already.
Oh, as soon as I realized that I was not making the playoffs, I was hyped about the draft and the especially the running back prospects that are coming out this year.
And in case of any of you are wondering, which I know you probably are, unfortunately, neither Brent nor I had not only made it into the playoffs in our league, but neither one of us won the championship.
Yeah, this was a bad year. I was looking at our league's history. I think there's only 2 years that I haven't made the playoffs, and I think I got last place and this year. So I think I got like third to last place, I think, this year.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Our former podcast host, Kyle, he did go on to win the championship in our league.
Shout out to Team Hacker.
Yes. He had a phenomenal team, and I can't hate him for it. Did a phenomenal job. But I knew coming into this year, a couple of trades I made, that I had no high hopes of making it to the playoffs. I was actually kind of excited with the wins I was able to get this year. And I do want to point out that I had the highest points against me. Every team said, "Oh, we're playing Juan. Let's just put our best team forward and score as many points as we can."
You know, it doesn't help when you're starting 2 running backs from the same team, though.
But that has nothing to do with the other team that's playing against me.
Correct.
Now, my points
Correct.
for.
I'm just saying.
Hey, that week I did that, though, they both scored touchdowns.
You did like 3 or 4 weeks in a row.
And then 2 of the weeks I had to do it because I was out of running backs. My running back situation was quite horrendous. But the 1 week where I purposefully did it, it paid off. So
yeah, thank you. I think you played me, actually.
I think I did. And we're talking about Adrian Peterson, Cam Akers.
No.
And I came at DeAndre Swift. Sorry, we were talking about Cam Akers earlier. But yeah, so this episode, we're going to get into who we think are the top picks and locks for the 4 key positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. And then we're going to throw out to you, the fans. We're going to give a category. We're going to give out our nominees.
Like in those season awards.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to post it up on Twitter. We're going to ask you to go there, place your votes, and determine who wins each category.
Yeah.
I think that's instead of us picking it, we can actually.
I think it'll be fun.
We can pick it on here, and then it's not the official winner.
I think we pick when we get the results next week. We can pick ours.
Well, I would like to have it on record of who we picked to see what the fans also pick, to see if we're in a line with the masses.
But I don't want listeners to listen to this and that to sway their vote on Twitter.
I would rather see if the masses agree with you.
So we would find out later. It's not going to change my choice.
But it's not on record.
But then we can put it on record. We can write it down. We can do whatever. I just don't want to put it on.
You hear that, folks? He's trying to back out here.
Not out. Not at all. Not at all.
If you haven't already picked up on the vibe here, Brent, the fans don't listen to you, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. With that being said, let's just dive right into it. We're not going to make this a normal length podcast. We're going to probably keep this one short. And
let's be honest, it's not going to be that short.
Shorter than hopefully normal, our past couple podcasts. And I feel like that's going to be kind of the during all season. That might be the layout or the format of the show, shorter than normal, just because obviously there's not as much to talk about. But when things do come up, they may be a little bit longer. But we're trying to keep you, the fans, in mind when we're doing a podcast. All right. With that being said, let's get into the top quarterback. Brent, for the 2020 season, who do you think was the top quarterback? And I guess, hold on, let's preference this before we get into it. We're only basing this off the criteria here. Just so we're on the same page, we're basing this off fantasy football only.
Yeah, this is geared towards fantasy football production and how they affected your the fantasy football landscape this year.
Yes, so we're not going by highest overall points.
Who's the best locker room guy?
Best locker room guy, or best teammate, or the best spirited, or the highest average. We're going off the impact that they had in the fantasy football.
All I can think when you say best spirited, all I can think about is like pep rallies in high school, like the guys that would come in and like short shorts and have their like chest painted and have pom poms for the pep rally. Shit. I
was thinking of WWE and like 10 years ago. There's the team spirit or whatever guys.
No idea.
Oh yeah. Anyways, I digress. All right. Top quarterback. Brent, who are you picking as your guy, franchise guy for this season?
I'm going to go with my homeboy, Patrick Mahomes. I think that he put up the most points per game on average for all quarterbacks this season. And
we're talking about ESPN's standard format.
Yes. And to me, like, he had two of his receiving threats in the top 5 at their position. Like, he raises his players up around him. He's a phenomenal quarterback. He can make all kinds of throws. There's not much that he can't do.
Interesting take. I am disagreeing with you on this one.
That's not surprising.
I do not feel Patrick Mahomes should be the top quarterback of the season. Whilst good reasoning you had and not a terrible pick, I feel like Aaron Rodgers stole the show this year, hands down. We're looking at Mahomes had 25 points on average. Rodgers 1 point behind him at 24 points. But he threw 10 more touchdowns than Mahomes did, 48 over the 38. And he was the second highest points in fantasy scoring with 338, only being outled by 13 more points, and that'd be Josh Allen.
I'll give you the touchdown production, but touchdowns, I don't know, like touchdowns are so hit and miss. Like, you have, like you cited the 10 fewer touchdowns, but he has almost 500 more yards passing, and then he has 150 more rushing yards. It's just, he's a better all-around quarterback. And I think, not to mention, like, if you play in any keeper leagues and you can get him, he's young, he's going to be around for 10, 15 more years. He's a young, I think he's the best quarterback in the league.
Mahomes, 4 games this season, he had in sub 60 passing completage.
Okay.
Rodgers, 1.
Great.
So Rodgers is guaranteed not to throw picks and not to throw incomplete passes, whereas Mahomes is more likely to do so.
Great. I mean, sure. I'm going to take the yardage over the touchdowns just about any day. It's a more dependable number.
It's,
and again, like I said, you look at Aaron Rodgers and his target. Now, I think that this is kind of a disadvantage to Aaron Rodgers. Also, he has one target available to him. That's a top tier player, but I think that he keys on Devontae Adams a little bit too much, and I do think that Matt LaFleur kind of geared his playbook a little bit more towards Aaron Rodgers, and they got on the same page this year compared to last year, how Aaron Rodgers had such a mediocre season.
but based off what, stepping away from Rodgers here for a second, based off what your criteria just was and how good Mahomes is and why he's your number one, you must have been overlooking Watson the entire time, because Watson had just as many fantasy points as he did. His average was 2 less, but he had more yards, more passing yards, and more rushing yards.
2 points less is a lot, though, over the season.
Not really. That's only 32 points.
Yeah, exactly.
But he made up for that in his rushing yards.
He didn't make
in total,
up for it.
at the end of the season, he was only 9 points behind Mahomes. 9 points.
Okay.
So again, if you're claiming all this stuff about Mahomes, Watson is the better of the two. And he had just as many targets.
No, he's not the better of the two. Come on, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Per game, we just said he had 2 more points per game. That's not better.
In the grand scheme of things, the fantasy football,
I will take
2 points is not going to make or break you on average in a fantasy game.
Okay.
From your quarterback.
Sure, you're right. That's why the argument of us arguing who's the best out of these, 4 quarterbacks, in my opinion, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or you could throw Deshaun Watson in there. Those 4 quarterbacks, I think that it's splitting hairs who's the absolute best. But I think they all have great arguments as to why they are deserving. But I'm taking Patrick Mahomes and his production and the raw facts of his per game totals, and that's going to include him sitting out week 17. So you figure throw in week 17, and his average is going to be higher. And that's I'm sorry, his total is going to be higher.
I'm not going to take that into consideration because week 17,
why not?
Teams in his position are going to pull. I'm not done yet. Don't interrupt.
I didn't. Teams
in his position. You're getting ready to. Teams in his position, where they get the first week bye, don't have to start their starters, so they're going to sit. And most fantasy leagues don't go into week 17. So correct, to me, that's a moot point.
But it's still, but it's still in these numbers. If you're looking at ESPN's numbers, it's still taking those totals into account. Like Aaron Rodgers had 39 points in week 17. So take away
Aaron Rodgers
that week.
Had 26 points. Where are you getting 39 from?
Sorry, that's a different scoring. Sorry.
Oh, you're looking at ours?
Yeah.
He had 26.
So, but you take 26 points away, and that's putting him below Patrick Mahomes' total for the season, total fantasy points.
Sure, but then you're saying based off of that.
That was your argument for Aaron Rodgers as to why he should be winning it, is that he had total fantasy points had more.
He also had 10 more touchdowns.
Yes, he did, but that still didn't improve his numbers to be better than Mahomes.
No. Then you're going off of fantasy points as being the overall end-all, be-all, in which case Josh Allen should take it.
How? No, his points are not more. He does not have more total fantasy points Or I'm sorry, fantasy points on average. And also, he played in week 17. And if you look at what he had,
yes, he had 19 points in week 17.
Yep.
If you take those 19 points away, he still has more points than Mahomes.
hold on, let me get back to ESPN standard scoring.
He had 396.
Yep, and
He scored 20 points in that last week.
okay,
So again, Josh Allen is the better of the two.
okay, but not per game. See, I still like my per game.
Per game, then we're talking about 0.02.
Yeah,
If you're reliant on that 0.02,
like
then
I said,
you got other problems.
like I said before, we're splitting hairs on who's the best. And again, this is a big part of it. A big reason as to why I chose Mahomes is because he elevated two additional fantasy players on his team to be like top tier. Like every week you can depend on them players, in Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
I mean, you're not wrong there, but that's also that only matters if you got Kelsey and Hill on your team.
I'm just
If they're
looking
not
at the
on your team,
overall
it doesn't-
land. Correct. It only matters if Mahomes is on your team. I'm just saying in the overall scheme of things, Mahomes did a tremendous job for fantasy football this season. Okay? That's all I'm saying.
But Rodgers is better.
I don't think that Rodgers is better per se. I think that poise wise, maybe if you need a Hail Mary that's 65 yards down the field, that rainbow that he threw a couple years ago, my goodness.
So we're talking somebody that's 37 at the twilight end of their career, and who coming into the season, I feel like a lot, maybe not more than 75% of people, but a decent chunk of people wrote him off in favor of the younger.
I agree with that. And if you want to put him in
And to come into the season and possibly take an MVP.
if you want to put him as comeback player of the year, I will gladly put him. I'm all for giving him that.
We're looking at what's going to be most likely the MVP of the league.
So
Talking about elevating your team.
you can say that, and he may well be MVP. And like I said, he has a great case.
He has better
for
stats than his previous MVP league year.
So does Patrick Mahomes.
But he wasn't. Rodgers has better stats than Mahomes this year. We've already established that.
He has better touchdown stats. Those are not better stats.
Yes, they are.
just because somebody has more touchdowns doesn't
Less
mean
interceptions, less fumbles,
one less interception or two
higher
less
percentage
interceptions.
completion.
No, one less interception. Really? Come on.
Hey, one is enough to make or break in MVP voting, but his passing percentage is 4 less.
4 percentage points. Do you know how many passes that is? That's so minute of a number. Like, so okay, if you're gonna say that, Mahomes has 150 more rushing yards. How about that?
We all know Rodgers is not. His walker was out of commission for the first couple of games, and he couldn't get the rushing yards in.
Well, it sounds like he might lose the MVP on that.
It's not, because he is
might.
the man this year. And
Hold on. Let's look at QBR. What's his QBR? 82.9.
that's a good question. What is the QBR in each one?
82.9 for Mahomes. And 84.4 for Rodgers.
Rodgers. Yeah, again, higher. Cool. Great. That's my argument. I win. that wasn't supposed to be the laugh. I think it's this one. There we go.
You're gonna have to mark this.
All right, so that's our picks for top quarterback. Brent obviously is going with Mahomes. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. Fans, who do you think? Do you believe one of those two should take it, or do you think it's going to be somebody else? Could it be Josh Allen? Let us know. All right, moving on. Top running backs of the year. Who do you got, Brent?
I struggled deciding this because again, there's like 4 running backs that I think I like a lot, but I think I take Dalvin Cook because because of his per game. Like, yeah, he missed some games, but when he was playing, he was lights fucking out. He was a beast this year.
He was. I also had a hard decision going into it. I was torn between Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, those are the other two that I considered.
Derrick Henry's only in the picture because he had, well, backtrack a little bit. His fantasy production wasn't as good as those two.
Right, and that's where Derrick Henry, him not being involved in the passing game at all hurts him
tremendously.
Yeah.
But I cannot take away the 2,000 rushing yards.
And right, exactly.
And for that alone, I got to at least put him in the picture. But I am leaning towards Alvin just because of his year. His year was phenomenal. He had less rushing yards than both, but his receiving yards was out of this world for a running back.
And the reason I didn't pick Kamara is because he had a game where he had 6.2 and a game where he had 10.5.
I was concerned about that, and I was kind of leaning heavily on why I wouldn't select him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna look past that because he put up in standard scoring league 40 more points over Dalvin Cook, and as you're so heavily riding high on, his average was better.
I agree that now a big part of that is that 65,000 point game.
Hey,
the 6 touchdowns that he had.
Doesn't matter. Who did that?
I have no idea.
Doesn't.
It was a wrestler.
I feel like it was.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I know who it was. I forget his name though. It was S.A. Soft.
I don't know. John Cena?
No. We'll get back to that.
Don't know. All right.
But Alvin Kamara. And I hated that when Tyson Hill came into play, Drew Brees got knocked out. Alvin just kind of was like on the back burner.
Yeah.
Hill kind of took over and outshined him those few weeks.
And really, that kind of scares me for his future also.
It does. Honestly, it does. I don't know what was going on as the offensive coordinator with that. If there was a reason, maybe Alvin needed some extra break during this few weeks to kind of like slightly recover. I don't know. But we're not looking at that for the future. We're looking at this and who we think the top is. And without a doubt, it's got to be Alvin. There's no questions on why you should even pick Alvin on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point. But again, like you said, a running back, we're talking about running backs, and he didn't even hit 1,000 yards. I don't like that.
We're talking about impact on that position.
Okay, but I'm talking about running backs and their overall impact in fantasy and how dependable they are. I don't like that. I just don't like that he didn't even hit 1,000 yards, and it took him 83 receptions to get the points that he has.
He has.
I'm trying to make an argument that
you got none because the main two criterias are average and fantasy points, and Alvin. And you're right. And your eyes decimates him by that 1 point average being higher.
Yeah,
1.1 to be exact.
You're right. He does have a higher average, and I just that's the part about like Dalvin Cook. I feel like he was just more involved and more consistent. That's the only reason I chose him. But then I feel like Dalvin Cook is the mix of all the criteria that I used and the one that hits the median the most. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I picked.
And I guess your argument, and I'm gonna make your argument for you here because obviously you're not doing a good job at it. The stats that we just said were based off the ESPN standard scoring, and I feel like it's pretty safe to say that most leagues don't use that. Let me take that back a little bit. I feel like that our average listener is more in tune with fantasy football, where they're going to make more adjustments on how their league is being scored. We're not going to go straight out the box with the ESPN standard. And I could be wrong. If I am wrong, please let me know. But that's just a huge assumption I'm making there, because I feel like more in-tune players are going to adjust the league a bit to kind of customize the way they like it. So in our league, Alvin was third in overall scoring. Dalvin still second. Derek blew the league out.
Yeah, because we don't play with BPR. And
we don't play PPR.
The kicker. That's what I just pulled up. Excuse me. I just pulled up the non-PPR scoring where Derrick Henry finished with 314, Alvin Kamara 294, and Dalvin Cook 293. But Dalvin Cook's average is 21, where those other two are 19.7 and 19.6 respectively.
Yeah. So it kind of goes back to the way your league is set up. But overall, I still am picking Alvin at the end of the day, just because of his receiving yards played a tremendous role in it. Because he's like, to me, he's an overall better player, where he doesn't specialize in one area like Derrick Henry with the rushing, Dalvin Cook with the rushing.
Now, see, that's why I picked Dalvin Cook, because I feel like he's the most complete. So he has over 40 receptions, over 300 receiving yards. But he still gained over 1,500 yards on 300 carries, and he missed 2 games. And so I feel like he's the best of both worlds, and he's been super consistent. He didn't have those 50. He did have almost a 50-point game, but he didn't have those boom and bust weeks.
Dalvin Cook was 10th overall in receiving yards.
For running backs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe that.
Honestly, somebody that kind of diving into that with the receiving yards, somebody that I think could be a threat in the future years is J.D. McKissick at Washington.
I just don't think he'll get enough opportunity.
It does come down to that.
Here's the thing, so I was just pulled up Derrick Henry's numbers. He had 4 weeks below 10 points.
He did.
And Alvin Kamara had 1. And Cook had 0.
Wait, Cook below what?
10.
We'll look at week 12 again, buddy.
Are you in non-PPR or are you in standard?
Non-PPR.
There you go.
All right, let me get a standard here.
That's why. He had 10 1 week. 10.5, I think it was.
Week 12, yeah.
Yeah, 10.2. And I think that was the week that he may have went out. No, it's not the week that he got injured.
For consistency, so if you want a consistent RB1, Cook could be your guy. Alvin is, up and down, but he only had overall one worse week than Cook.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. They're very similar, and that's why I said I had trouble deciding who I wanted to pick. So
and it's hard, but I like both are solid picks all around. I don't think either one of us would, if we had the opportunity to have him on our team, neither one of us would decline.
Yeah, because I traded Cook away.
And that's why I said that. All right. Let us know if your picks are any different out of those two for running back. Again, Brent went Dalvin. I went Alvin. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. All right. Moving on to wide receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver. I don't think there's any question here.
I'm going to argue this to the day I die.
Really? Are you?
No.
Okay. I think we both chose Devontae Adams here, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, he had a phenomenal season. He had 150. Did he lead the? No, he didn't lead the league in receptions, but 115 receptions, 1374 for yardage, and 18 touchdowns. That's where he
excelled and blew everybody else out the water.
Yeah.
Was his 18 touchdowns.
He was obviously Aaron Rodgers' favorite target, and I'd say that they have almost. Do you remember when Jordy Nelson played for the Packers? and the chemistry that Aaron Rodgers had with Jordy Nelson. I feel like that's what Devontae Adams has now with Aaron Rodgers.
I feel like it's far exceeded what they had.
I mean, maybe, but it's phenomenal. Like it's crazy the way that they can connect and the catches that the Devontae Adams can make.
It is, and I almost feel like other organizations should find out how they're forming that chemistry and try to mimic that on their teams. I feel like Russell and Lockett and maybe Russell and DK have that vibe going on. Mahomes and Hill has that vibe, and adding Kelsey as well has that vibe going on. Now, honestly, with Allen and Diggs moving over to Buffalo, that's their first year together. Yeah. I feel like the future is bright for those two.
Absolutely.
I just hope that this isn't a fluke year for Allen and that he can maintain this going forward.
You know, I don't think so, because if you look at his numbers, his completion percentage, and the passes that he was making. So if you get into PFF numbers and their consistency and what are translatable numbers, the passes that he was making, the intermediate routes and such that he's improved so heavily in, those are consistent numbers, they can put it on a trajectory and say that it's going to stay in there. Now, when you're hitting those deep bombs, those are the ones that are inconsistent and that will fluctuate. So I think that he's here to stay.
I don't have anything to disagree with that. I just hope it's not like a fluke thing.
Yeah, I understand. Me too.
I like Allen. I love the Bills Mafia.
I like Allen. Allen has some serious moxie.
He does.
I like him a lot. He kind of reminds me, kind of like an Aaron Rodgers. Like he's a little bit mobile, but not extremely mobile. He'll take a shot. He'll hang in there and make a big throw. I like him.
You know who he reminds me of?
Don't say Big Ben.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Why would I say that?
Because he's big and you can just make big time throws and just like use his arm talent, and that's it.
I feel like that was a horrible.
That's what I'm at. Who are you talking about?
You know, this only came about because you said, would you say Moxie?
Yeah.
Mox from Varsity Blues, James Vanderbeek. Hey, you cannot lie.
Oh my gosh, your references today are terrible.
That is the greatest football movie of all time.
Oh no, Little Giants.
Icebox Man. No, Varsity Blues, because it came out during our high school years.
You didn't like Any Given Sunday? Any Given Sunday is probably my favorite football movie.
I couldn't relate to that because I'm not an NFL player, but Varsity Blues I can relate to. So it made more sense.
You played football in high school? I didn't realize. I don't remember.
It's also during our high school years too, and going through all the turmoil that people in high school go through.
Dawson and Joey and
well, that's Dawson's Creek, but you know.
Is that not what we're talking about?
I knew you had the DVD box set at home still. But yeah, and plus I'm a huge Paul Walker fan, so.
Was he in Varsity Blues?
R.I.P. Yeah. Boy,
I don't know if I've ever seen the whole movie.
What?
Yeah,
we're gonna have to have a
the guy.
Oh,
from,
we know what we could do during the off season. Have him like movie review, football movie reviews. Boom, there we go.
The guy from My Name Is Earl was in that too, wasn't he? The big guy.
Big guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Billy Bob. No, that wasn't him.
I don't know. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Top tight end.
Top tight end. Yes. We got a little tangent there. Top tight end. So who do you got as your top tight end?
I think this is another one. I don't think there's any question. Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. I guess you could argue Darren Waller, but
I don't.
I think that the argument for Darren Waller is how much he meant to that team, to his NFL team, because I mean he was their top receiving option. Travis Kelce it's kind of 1A 1B with him and Tyreek Hill. But I mean, he was phenomenal. He almost led the league in passing yards or receiving yards rather. Had 11 touchdowns and 105 receptions. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
It doesn't come close.
You know what's funny? I was talking about PFF. I was listening to a PFF podcast. I think it was 2-for-1 drafts. I was listening to how much older than Travis Kelce do you think Gronk is?
I don't even know how old Travis Kelce is.
Just
Kelce. See, he came out of UC.
Come on, I didn't expect it to take this long.
2013.
Jeez, old Pete's just throw a number out
30,
there.
So he'd be about
okay. They're
31.
2 months separate them.
Damn, I would have guessed 6 years.
Right. It's only like
That's what I was trying
2
to
or
get
3
with
months.
the math. Really?
Yeah.
Dude, Gronk is beat up, man.
But that and to me, like, so Travis Kelce gets split out a lot, and he'll even play outside sometimes. That's where the difference is to me. I think, and Gronk would play. He always was in line blocking, and he would throw his body around like it was nothing. So that's gonna cause some injury issues.
Wait, not gonna look up. They come into the league at the same time?
No, I think it was 1 or 2 years difference. But I think Kelce, I think he probably redshirted. I'm pretty sure
he came into the league in 2010. Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Kelce was 14.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm second guessing myself.
No,
on age.
you're right. Wait, what'd you say?
It's like 2 or 3 months, something like that.
It's 6 months.
6 months. Okay.
Yeah. Damn. So he's in the league for 4 years earlier.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I know Kelce. I think he originally went to college as a quarterback. They ran a lot of options with him at UC.
Mm-hmm. Damn, that's crazy.
He kind of did the Taysom Hill kind of thing
mm-hmm.
for a little bit.
Yeah, all right. So no arguments there. Tight end or wide receiver, we both. And I feel like the audience out there can't really argue differently. I feel like they agreed that Adams and Kelce are the top picks for fantasy league this year.
Cook running back, Mahomes quarterback for sure. Yeah, they can't really argue with that.
All right. With that being said, we're gonna open up to you, give you some categories, and we're gonna post it on Twitter. So be sure to follow us in the booth FF on Twitter and vote in our polls. We're gonna post. How do you want to do this? You want to do 1 poll a day?
That's why I think probably a poll a day.
Okay, and then we'll recap the results next week's podcast. With that being said, let's get right into it. First category, offensive player of the year.
And so here's my thing. Do you want to us you suggest 2 and I suggest 2, or do you want to just go from the list that I made?
You do your top 3 from your list. I'm going to add in 2 other people that's not on your list.
Okay. And do you want to call this offensive player of the year or MVP?
We can just add a category for MVP because we'll just make it MVP because the defensive players won't be on there.
Yeah. Okay. So MVP, I'm going to say, and this is based on for your fantasy team and how it affected your fantasy team. So I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers, James Robinson, and man, this is tough for the third one. Do I want Stephon Diggs or Travis Kelce? Let's say Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to actually pick up Diggs. I think Diggs
He was
impactful
super
player.
impactful, yeah.
And then I'm going to add Josh Allen into that mix, his quarterback.
Okay.
Into that because I feel like not only the combo of those two. Honestly,
I think Josh Allen is a valid choice because again, I tried to base these selections on where you drafted them and how much they affected your team and how you could depend on them. And Stephon Diggs, you probably drafted him in the 5th round, and he was a number one receiver the entire season. I mean, you weren't expecting him to do what he did. And I'm sorry, we were talking about Josh Allen. Josh Allen, you drafted probably in the 8th to 10th round. He was drafted behind, your top 5 quarterbacks. You had
Mahomes, Rodgers.
Yeah, when Rodgers wasn't being drafted in the top 5. You had Mahomes. You had Watson.
Quarterbacks.
Not this year.
Oh yeah, it's right for going in this year.
Yeah, Watson, Lamar Jackson, Watson, Mahomes, Wilson, and Kyler Murray. Those were your top 5.
Sorry, I'm thinking here. I think we're gonna change this up here.
Okay.
You're gonna do 3. I'm gonna do 3, and I'm going into this. If that's how you're going into this, I'm going into it as in, you're either in a keeper league or dynasty league, so you're probably not redrafting. So I'm not going to look at where you mentioned. You're kind of looking at where you're drafting them in your draft. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to look at it as impactful overall.
Okay.
So then I'm going to add in Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Derrick Henry or Devontae Adams?
That he was one that I wanted to put in here, but I felt like Stephon Diggs, with where you could have gotten him in the draft, how much more he could have affected your team and improved your team.
Okay, I'm taking Diggs out. I'm adding Derrick Henry.
Man.
All right, so just to recap here, you picked Aaron Rodgers, James Robinson, and Travis Kelce. I picked Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Josh Allen.
You want to know a guy that I almost put in?
No.
That it's going to sound like it's left field, but if you look at his numbers, it's shocking. David Montgomery.
This last half of the season.
As soon as his bye week came and went, he turned it on to fucking just went nuts. And there's a lot of leagues that he probably could have won because he was being drafted in the 6th, 7th, 8th round.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to defensive player of the year, and we're gonna do this IDP style and not just overall defense, just because that's the way we play.
Yeah. Are we doing 3 again?
No. Let's stick to 2 because there's not as many.
Cool. Okay. For me, it's Jeremy Chin and Darius Leonard. Jeremy Chin, safety from Carolina Panthers. Darius Leonard, linebacker from Indianapolis Colts.
Jeremy Chin. Let me mark this here. And you said Zach Cunningham?
No, Darius Leonard.
Oh, Darius Leonard, okay.
And again, I'm looking at fantasy points average. Let me pull up Darius Leonard real quick. Ah, shit. And this is based off of our league settings. And that's the thing about IDPs especially. They can change heavily from league to league and how your league has them set up. So Darius Leonard was averaging 11 points per game, had 132 tackles with 3 sacks. He's to me, he's probably the best linebacker in the league. And then Jeremy Chin, rookie, had 117 tackles. His 2 touchdowns helped him a lot. Those both came in the same game. But he looks like he's a player of the future for sure.
For my 2 picks, I'm going to go. First one is going to be Kyle Van Noy, defensive end, Miami. He had a few less points than the leader, Hassan Reddick, but he played in 2 less games, and his average is quite a bit higher because he didn't play in those 2 games.
I'm pretty sure he was more consistent, too.
Yeah, way more consistent. So Kyle Van Noy is my number 1. Let me write that down here as we're doing this on the fly, which I like. A little bit different, having that thing on our toes. And then my next guy, I want to lean towards Blake Martinez because I just like him overall. But I'm kind of leaning towards Zach Cunningham in that one.
I think Zach Cunningham had a better season.
Only fantasy points, only 2 points better.
Yeah.
But still better. I'll go ahead and lock that in. Zach Cunningham for mine. Okay. Rookie of the year. Give me your 2 rookies of the year. And then I'll give you mine. But honestly, I think we're going to pick the 4 that I already listed here.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are the 4 that you kind of have to go with. Jonathan Taylor, he, again, once he finally got put into that actual starting role and they stopped playing around with Naeem Hines getting 15, 16 carries a game, he just took over and looked phenomenal. And then I'll take James Robinson also, who was the most consistent running back maybe in all of football, actually, as far as just consistency. He had 12, 13 points every game. Those are my 2 picks.
Then the next 2 should be quite obvious to anybody that follows football. I just want to say both names. Not going to go into it real quick, but Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert. Both broke rookie records all year long. Herbert he's not totally in the picture, but he's not out of the picture of being offensive player of the year. I know that's kind of a stretch there, but he's turned up tremendous numbers. Now, granted, the Chargers haven't done that good, but still, nonetheless, Justin Herbert is phenomenal. I would have loved to have sent Joe Burrow into the mix.
I was going to bring him up. Is it funny that all of their names start with J?
So does Juan. Boom!
It's got the wrong sound. I thought you spelled it with a W.
No. That is quite funny, actually. I didn't really kind of see that. But yeah, no. So Justin Jefferson, man. Wow.
And so I feel like he got dinged and kind of put down people's draft boards because he played solely from the slot this past year. Mm-hmm. And I feel like everybody was started questioning if he could play outside, where that's where he played his first. I don't know if he came out as a junior or senior, but the previous seasons at LSU, that's where he played, was outside. And then Joe Judge, I think, who ran that offense with LSU.
I'm not a college guy.
In any case, they moved him into the slot, and that was Joe Burrow's favorite target, pretty much.
True, but then again, looking from a fantasy perspective, how many rookie wide receivers are picked up
this year?
Well, no, I'm just saying, on an average year, if you're going to your first draft, so you're picking your whole team from scratch, how many rookie wide receivers are ever drafted?
I mean,
they're not proven.
Probably between,
running backs are a bit different.
Receivers, I mean, they're not picked as early, but I think that there's quite a few. This year, I would have said that you had Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson.
This year, to me, it was kind of an oddity.
Brandon Ayuk,
green of the crop, and
Jalen Reagor. So at least 5 this year, I would have said.
Not at the end of the year, and you might have picked them if you're doing 20 picks towards the latter part of sleepers. And all that.
Yeah. You're not picking them in the first 3 rounds.
No, I don't think you'd pick them in the first 10 rounds because you're going to go after the tried and true receivers.
Well, yes, but Judy and even Jalen Reagor could have been picked up earlier because Philadelphia, you had no idea who the hell was going to be playing wide receiver, but Jalen Reagor ended up getting hurt before the season started, and so it was a moot point, but.
Yes.
Moving on.
Nonetheless, let's look at breakout of the year. Who do you got?
For me, I'm going to take Josh Allen, David Montgomery, and Darren Waller.
Ooh, Darren Waller.
We've talked about Josh Allen already and David Montgomery, and even touched a little bit on Darren Waller. Darren Waller just... Man, was phenomenal. I did not expect him to have this kind of season. He's he's not old per se, but this is I think he's 26, 27, something like that. But he definitely broke out this year. This is his biggest season by far. He was second in receiving yards for tight ends. Tied with Kelsey for touchdowns, and he was the focal point of the Las Vegas Raiders passing attack, and was a dependable target.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs, breakout of the year.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson, breakout of the year.
I didn't want to put any rookies on here just because you don't know what they're going to do next year. Like, yeah, he definitely broke out this year, but
he did. And I'm only including him, and I see your point there. The only reason why I want to include him is because he broke Randy Moss's record, and look how great Randy Moss turned out to be.
Yardage record.
Yes, yardage. Yes.
Did you look at his Randy Moss's stats
from his rookie year?
Yeah, he had 69 receptions for like 1,300 yards, or a little over 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns.
But
17 touchdowns.
The Vikings,
as a rookie.
The Vikings also have Dalvin Cook.
As a rookie.
Who was running back for Randy Moss's rookie year?
Probably Robert Smith.
Yeah.
He was pretty freaking good that time. Yeah, he was. And Chris Carter was also there.
No, Chris Carter was there. That is a valid point, but
and he had Dante Culpepper throwing him the ball.
Yes, but nonetheless.
So that's his average. Randy Moss's average, like yards per reception, blew Justin Jefferson's out of the freaking water.
Yeah, I want to include Justin Jefferson. I like him. The only other person I would want to throw up there for breakout of the year, Baker Mayfield. I'm just kidding.
I'd be all right with that. So I had Will Fuller on my list also. He definitely broke out to me.
But look at what the team though.
Well, yeah, but I can't say. But to me, it doesn't matter what the team did.
No, I'm saying they lost DeAndre Hopkins already.
Yeah,
Brandon Cooks situation.
Right, so he broke out.
Who else was he going to toss it to?
But he broke out to prove that he could be a number one receiver. I don't know how much of that was his assistance, but because it was seriously, I think the first season he played probably more than 50% of the games.
Yeah, all right, I see your argument there. Nothing wrong with that. All right, moving on to sleeper of the year.
This was a category that I wasn't sure to put in here because it was actually really hard to try and come up with sleepers, like sleepers that performed really well.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like this category because sleeper to me also is breakout.
But to me, that's different because it's so sleeper is like somebody that you were just like taking a dart throw on, like you would have picked in your last like 3 rounds of the season. And then they could have been both, I guess. But
okay, what's here? Who you have?
Do you want me to just name them, or you?
Good name. The only person I would even include would be Jamison Crowder.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Naeem Hines had a good season.
Oh, he did. I'm not giving. To me, it's hard to judge the sleeper, and just based off that criteria, I'm going off just what the Jets had, and they really didn't have much, and Jameson made the most of it.
Right. I agree with that. And that's so like I have Ben Roethlisberger, Naeem Hines, Jamison Crowder, and Robbie Anderson. Ben Roethlisberger was coming off of his injury. Nobody knew what he was going to be able to do. And he put up a pretty good season. I looked last night to see where he was ranked. But let's look again.
He had 3,800 yards, and the top dog in the league was 4,800. So he's not that far off.
Right, but where was he on points? Damn it.
Oh, you're talking about fantasy points?
Yeah.
He's pretty low down there. He's 267.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so
he's lower than I thought. That's my bad. Well, in any case. Okay, well, you can take them off. We don't even have to do this category if you don't want.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do this category.
Okay.
Let's nix it. Okay.
In any case, sleepers of the year. If you guys have any feedback or any thoughts, I had Ben Roethlisberger, Naeem Hines, Jamison Crowder, and Robbie Anderson.
Right on.
All right.
And I guess the only other category. See, I don't even want to. Or we'll do this as a category. I don't like it, but this will be our last category. Waiver wire pickup of the year.
I thought that was kind of fun just because,
yeah, it's different.
Guys that nobody had any idea they were going to do anything. Do you want me to name them, or you want to go with guys that you have or that you thought about?
Name them, and I'm going to see
if there's anybody else you want to add.
Yeah.
Okay. So on my list, I included Corey Davis, Myles Gaskin, Brandon Cooks, Mike Davis, and Robert Tonyan. Corey Davis, obviously, he is a guy that could have been put on that breakout of the year list.
Mm-hmm.
Juan, you're very familiar with his
I hate him
his
with
career. He was the top receiver, I think, in his draft class.
Yes, he was.
Just never did anything.
Picked him up, and I sat on him for 3 years, waiting for that breakout year. Here it is.
Yeah, exactly. You just gave up too quick.
Yeah.
Maybe next year it's John Ross.
Yeah, right.
But then, so he had a great season with Tannehill and opposite AJ Brown. Myles Gaskin took over the backfield in Miami, and he wasn't being talked about at all. They signed Jordan Howard and then traded for Matt Breida, and everybody thought those were going to be the guys. Brandon Cooks, he got traded to the Texans kind of right before the season started, I think. And I was a little bit higher on him than I think most people were, but to start the season, he was terrible. And then when Bill O'Brien got fired and he started being included a little bit more in the mix, and that was when Deshaun Watson started flinging the ball around. Mike Davis, he obviously benefited from Christian McCaffrey's injury, and that's pretty obvious. And Robert Tonyan came on kind of out of nowhere. There were a couple people talking about him before the season. I certainly was not on the Tonyan train, but Aaron Rodgers seemed to find him to be a dependable target throughout the season.
I like it. I think maybe the only person I would probably add to that list is J.D. McKissick.
That's fair.
And I don't hate picking up or adding
Gus Edwards.
Yes,
but I feel like Gus Edwards was a guy that you had him on your bench the entire season, but never felt good. Never felt good starting.
Right. Those are the only people that come to my mind.
I like McKissick better than Edwards.
I would say Logan Thomas, but just because there's the lack of depth at tight ends, he's probably going to be on somebody's the starter anyways.
Well, and yeah, he actually, if you look at his numbers are not good. He got 1 million targets and just not very much yardage.
Right. Yeah, hit a couple games that were decent, but on average, not that great. All right. I like that. So that wraps up our kind of polls here, end of the year awards. We're going to post all these to Twitter, and then we ask you, of course, as we said earlier, to head into In the Booth Fantasy Football Podcast and place your votes. You're pointing at something here.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're pointing at.
Do you want to talk about the top 5? My early top 5 projections for next year at each position.
I still say that for a future podcast.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do like that a lot, and I like the list I'm looking at here. So, if you're interested, listeners, stay tuned for our projections for next year in the coming weeks. But we got a lot to talk about coming up with, obviously the playoffs, the combine, the draft.
Honestly, this is my favorite time of the year. This is gets me amped up more than anything is prepping and looking at all the. I think it's because I get excited about all the potential that can happen.
See, to me, I usually hate this time of year.
Yeah.
Well, not right now because the playoffs, but once the season's over, because we don't draft until August, and so between end of February to March,
it's like you gotta be gathering all your information.
Yeah, I can read here and there, but it's like, I could do that on free time. Like I don't have to dedicate a time every day as I do during the season.
I do. 23 hours a day.
And look where you finished.
It was obviously useful.
Yeah, it's very useful. All right, that concludes this week's episode of In the Booth Fantasy Football Podcast. We're going to drop one more episode this week, talking about headlines coming out of the final week of the season and then going into the playoffs, and then kind of some headlines that kind of highlighted the 2020 season and what that had in store. So stay tuned for that one. That'll be dropping probably tomorrow. And on that note, Brent, any last parting shots?
No, like I said, I'm excited to get into this analysis. I'm going a little bit more in depth with starting this podcast and doing more work on the rookie prospects. So I'm super eager to start talking about them. I
am too. And as I said when we kicked off the podcast tonight, that we're kind of game planning the roadmap for the rest of the year, and kind of tossing ideas back and forth. Kind of looked at what you had lined up. Boy, I'm excited, and I can't wait till we drop the information to our listeners. It's going to be amazing.
Absolutely. One more thing. Congrats, Team Whacker. Actually, it's Team Hacker up there, isn't it? Team Hacker. You're welcome for my charitable contribution to your team in the form of Dalvin Cook and Chris Godwin.
Yes, you're welcome, Hack. All right. On that note, until next time, we out. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at InTheBoothFF and on Instagram as well. See ya.